Hello and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Riche up here in the Great White North. Funnily, I have this as my permanent background photo right here because I am looking out my window and it's literally a mirror image of both my background and outside. I have quite literally had snow for 3 days straight.
He's not lying.
There,
I've seen them.
I,
I've seen the pictures.
like it's 3 days straight, and we just got a second or third or fourth. I know I lost count the number of waves we're on right now of a lake effect clipper that's going through my area. It is supposed to get really bad around 10 p.m. and they're calling for another foot or two to fall this evening because why not? We've already had four. So that's enough about me. Over to this guy over here, representing his Los Angeles Chargers. Whatever. It is what it is. We have DZ. Thank you, DZ, for joining the show. Fitting having both of us here on the Wild Wild West, given the fact that we are making up the Week 18 game for the AFC West.
Yep.
And then the Chiefs and the Raiders are going at it as the other game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this coming Sunday as well. I think
That's going to be an interesting one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of theories. I've heard Raiders fans talk about it. I have my own theories on that. Like, I've heard Andy Reid doesn't want to lose. I've heard he could. I don't know. I've got a theory where he could play 3D chess and try to lose this game and try to screw the Raiders out of that number one pick. I'm not sure. I don't even know if that would. I don't know if they're locked in that pick right now. I'm not 100%.
They are definitely. I think if you put it through like the playoff machine or the tankathon, whatever that thing, the Raiders, I thought may have actually have that first pick in the draft.
It's like locked up, right? I think they could still
Yeah.
even if they were to win, they'd still get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. That was the last I heard. Now, there's some conflicting information, obviously, that's going on in terms of what you read, and until you actually go through and actually like audit the math on kind of some of these things, I take everything with a grain of salt. I just think that it's obviously in the Raiders' best interest to, lose that last game. I think it'll make any kind of comeback they have next season look all that much better. Obviously, as either a new head coach or Pete Carroll coming back and doubling or tripling their wins or something is going to be something that Raiders fans are going to be very happy about. Obviously, and so the worse off they do this season, probably the better that they will draft, and probably the more willingness the ownership and the fan base will have for sweeping changes on the team in order to kind of turn the corner and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where they're at.
Definitely. Yeah, it's going to be kind of exciting, especially, I mean, look, if at the same time as being a Raiders fan, it's kind of be annoying right now, but you're also like every year it's like, oh, what are we going to get? Who's going to be the head coach this year? Seems like they've been going through this turn, a little bit too much. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, if they fire Pete after this game or if who they end up hiring. I know in our little text chat, I threw out a rumor that I heard. I think Jack Kenna actually asked somebody that question on another show. So we'll see if that comes to fruition or if that pops up, if we hear a story. Because usually, like, you don't hear things right away, like who teams are looking at or whatever. It kind of like comes out, weeks or months later, so anyways.
Yeah, 100%. You don't always see, who they're interested in, who they interviewed, or who they discarded. Like sometimes you even hear who the teams discarded. Although I've also heard from reliable sources that when some teams say that they discarded this coach, a lot of the times they are doing that to cover themselves. because they always accompany that along with something along the lines of, well, we found out this thing. Like, we found out this obscure thing that no one heard about, so we just couldn't move with that particular coach. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
it all, and a lot of the times it all kind of turns out where it's like, okay, really? like really, like, you just didn't do it because of that? Like, I mean, we've seen players and coaches get hired with some pretty bad stuff, attached to their names. And if they can help you win football games and the fan base can overlook it, most of the time teams will just kind of allow it. So
Right.
I have a hard time believing that, but we shall see. Um, just circling back and kind of talking about the Raiders just a little bit more. We really are going to be in for an interesting um, Sunday. Really, if we're going to be honest. Um, I think Chiefs, sorry, Raiders fans are eyes glued to the
It's
outcome
Mendoza
of.
or bust right now. I feel like
Yeah, yeah,
for the
but it's
majority of
more than
them.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than that, I think, though, which is they're gonna want to see if the team moves on from Pete.
Yeah. That too.
They're going to want to see if that happens. They're going to want to see how quickly that can happen. So on Monday the 5th, for example, that will be, when they're going to start seeing if, the team is going to do what they see as the right thing by moving on, as an example. It'll also be very interesting to see if the team like just fires Pete, or if Pete like graciously retires or some variation of it,
Yeah.
because we've spoken about that on the show as well, which is and actually Jack Kenna and um, T3 Tom has kind of said that before, where they kind of agree with my take, which is they're probably going to try to encourage, if at all possible, Pete to retire, because that actually puts the Raiders in a better position where they're not going to be seen as kind of like the lesser than destination, or the destination that they would have to then overpay for a coach.
Sure.
And then, of course, we also have the other interesting piece here, which is um, do the Raiders pursue and proceed? Um, basically, do they proceed with the rumor of a trade for Tomlin?
Well, so that is
And
the
that's a huge rumor.
rumor that I heard on a sports show. Sean King, he's a ex Buccaneer quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback, who lives in Vegas, has ties with people, and the thing about that I find interesting, and I know a lot of people want to just blow this away or sweep it under the rug, is this guy has been coming on this show that I'm talking about for the last like year and a half or 2 years. Not once has he ever said anything like that outlandish. So it like really caught me by storm when he said that, and I'm like, huh. And he's like, a little birdie told me that the Raiders potentially looking in for a trade uh, to the Pittsburgh Steelers for Mike Tomlin, because I think fans all season and maybe last season, this can go back a few seasons, there's been rumblings in Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's kind of stayed that stagnant, non-losing season. They're competitive every year, but they really don't have high-end draft picks to kind of reload that roster and kind of go for a Super Bowl push. So, and Pittsburgh doesn't fire their coaches really ever. I mean, who before Tomlin, it was Cowher forever, right?
They've
Bill
never
Cowher.
fired the coach. My understanding is
Yeah.
they've always had the coach retire, and it's just kind of been that way, right? Like that is a very stable organization.
Anthony, was it wearing Raider coat? Oh, because I'm wearing
Well,
black and
he's
white.
he's pointing out your black hat
Oh,
that has the tridents on it, but it from afar and at first glance, I suppose could be
yeah. No.
mistaken for the Raider part of the shield
Black
there,
is one of my favorite colors, but no, I'm not a Raiders fan. I didn't put on my
Yeah.
Raiders gear today. So I find it interesting, with those rumors. But at the same time, the Raiders want a new quarterback. I guess the fan base wants a new quarterback with this Mendoza kid. So why would they give up that first round pick for a coach? But they also need a new coach. It's going to be interesting. We've heard Clint Kubiak's name. We've heard Jesse Minter, the Chargers' current DC. We've heard some names thrown out for this next coaching cycle that could be potential Raider candidates. So this would be really interesting to see which direction they go. Let's see. What did Salute? Oh, yeah.
So
I'm gonna
I have
my
nothing.
humble brag for this real quick. I did win his guillotine league. I think it was
Yeah.
like 16, 17 people. It came down to
Nice.
me and Angelo, but I barely won by I think like 1 point. It was pretty cool. So salute to Angelo. He's a really good commissioner. It was a fun league, but it was weird at the same time because it's one of those leagues where you get knocked out every week, so you had to survive.
Mhm.
So it was interesting.
Well, I actually agree. I think Angelo would make for a great commissioner of a league because he does kind of set the tone in terms of what's to be expected, and I think that's what you want. So Angelo, good job. I'd love
Yep,
to say I'm
good
surprised,
job,
but I'm not.
Angelo.
So like
It's
it
just
is what it is.
yeah,
um, Angelo, if you wanted to jump on, send me a text, buddy, and happy to have a Raiders representative here on the show for last little bit here for the last week. Just let me know, and I'll fire you off the link. But with regards to just things in general, here's a wild idea. Although I don't think it's too wild, given the other rumor that you heard about Max Crosby storming out of the organization when they told him
I
he was
heard that
going to
was
IR and
BS.
all that kind of stuff.
But go ahead.
I heard that too, but the thing is sometimes there's smoke where there's fire, and sometimes
Sure.
there's
Yep.
not. The
Hmm.
other thing is that as an organization, they may just A versus B here, right? Which is Crosby
Yep.
is obviously the current face of the franchise. But if you're going after a young QB, you kind of want him to be the face of the franchise. I went through this, by the way, with Von Miller on my team, where that was like a
Yeah,
real
I
challenge
remember.
and a real issue, where kind of Von was kind of the face of the franchise, but all that sort of thing. Here's an interesting one for you. What if the Raiders were choosing to trade Crosby to the Steelers, but
Ooh.
not with what you think it is going to be, but trade him to the Steelers for Mike Tomlin and a first round pick and maybe a later round pick or a mid round pick back in return. Something like that.
Yeah. Hmm.
And and so you have the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers, who, look, you can say what you want about him. He's actually played halfway decent this year. He hasn't played amazing, but he hasn't played awful. And
Sure.
if they end up with um, a couple other pieces that they can kind of put around him on the offensive side of the ball and kind of like level that up, and maybe a couple extra defensive pieces, I think the Steelers could actually be quite competitive because they're already somewhat competitive this year in how they're
Yeah.
playing and where they're at from a ranking, right? So my thing is that the Raiders are in a tough spot right now because the Raiders need to do a massive retool, and they also are looking for a bit of a culture shift. And so right now they could. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying they could, or at least may want to consider it at the very least. My Denver Broncos moved on from Von Miller. Okay. And I'm telling you right now that culturally speaking, he was the tone setter within the organization. Looking back on it now, that was probably the best thing for the organization, is to get him out, allow him to continue the rest of his career at a different organization, so that he didn't always undermine the culture of the coaching staff in terms of what they were trying to implement, because the players are going to look up to a guy like Crosby. They're going to look up to a guy like Von Miller, because Von Miller made it to 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl 50 MVP, was like lighting the world on fire, right? When he was in that spot. That's my point. I think that there could be some benefits um, to moving in that direction for the Raiders potentially. And I think that's an interesting take. And also Max Crosby, while he's young still or youngish still, he's not like really young. He's not in like, he's not in his like early 20s or something like that
True,
anymore.
that's
And
true.
so that could be something that they're looking at. I'm not saying they are, and I'm not saying I have any sources to indicate that that's what they're doing.
No, these are
However,
all
I do
just
think it would be
hypotheticals and
like
just
speculation
yeah,
hypothetical,
yeah.
which is you already know you're wanting to try to get a culture changing coach in there. Tomlin is certainly a guy that would definitely change that culture, and he has
Oh,
the gravitas and
100%.
the experience to do it. Like
Could you
he's just
imagine
that
Tomlin
guy.
in the AFC West with the other coaches? Like, oh my God.
I know.
Harbaugh, Peyton, Tomlin, and Reed. Like, oh, wow. That'd be pretty
Yeah,
incredible.
and
They also
yeah,
have some they've got some like outside Crosby, like say they keep Crosby because he's a good building tool, especially on that defensive side. I
sure.
think
Yep,
they're number one or number two in draft cap going into next season. And they've got some really good pieces on that offensive line, the offensive side. They got that young tight end tandem, Jack
Bowers.
Besh. Yeah,
Yeah,
Bowers and Mayer. Is it Mayers or Myers? One of the two. And
Mayors.
Jack
Yeah,
Besh, who's come on as of late in the season. And then Ashton Genty. And they need to get JPJ. I know he got hurt, but they've got some decent pieces on that offensive side. They could
yep.
supplement throughout free agency and draft wise. You know, Gino didn't do him any favors this year, man. That's for sure. But the coaching and quarterback, that's huge. Those are the two most important, and I think that's what they need. And they can go that trade route. Broncos, 49ers in the Super Bowl. I can definitely see that. I can see it. 49ers surprised the hell out of me, by the way, Anthony. Um, Shanahan's another guy, another coach of the year candidate, in my opinion. In my opinion, with the injuries they've had to deal with, really,
He reminds me a lot of Harbaugh.
yeah, he's just really
Um,
creative. But yeah,
No, but that's what I'm saying. He reminds me a lot of Harbaugh. Harbaugh gets his guys and gets the best out of his players, even in bad situations, including injuries. It's a trait. Like it's one of those things that most people don't give head coaches credit for. Harbaugh deserves a ton of credit for what he's done with the Chargers this season, and I
sure.
think I think Shanahan is in a very similar category.
There's a lot of coaches that I'm really impressed with this year. I got to take my blue and gold off sometimes and just kind of get my bias out out of the way and just look at it around the league. And there's a lot of coaches that I've been really impressed with. One of them is uh, Liam Cohen in Jacksonville, Mike Vrabel in New England. Um, Now, I've heard
I have some
there's a lot of
concerns with the Jacksonville coach.
okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
New England's had a hell of a season, but there's stats to back up why they're having hell of a season. And I'm not saying they're a bad team at all, but it is what it is, and I'll find them if we get to that. But
Yeah.
they're looking like one of the top teams in the AFC right now. But yeah, there's been some really good coaches. A lot of unfortunate injuries. So the only knock on Jim Harbaugh and Kyle Shanahan is they haven't gotten a Lombardi yet. I'm pretty sure. I don't think Shanahan's gotten one. They've gotten there, but just haven't you know crossed the finish line. So that's a knock on them. They're a good leader among men. Let's just say.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. So just real quick on my concerns with the Jacksonville coach, I think he's a great coach. I really do, and I'm happy to have this conversation with our Jags contributors to the channel here. But and I'll say it to their faces too, and I'm happy to have them kind of come back at me and push back on what I'm saying. But my concern with the Jags coach is that he reminds me a little bit of the Philly coach, the guy that kind of won that Super Bowl, that first big Super Bowl in Philly. I can't
Sirianni?
remember his name. No. Sirianni's different. Sirianni's kind of like the guy that you want, in my opinion. But it's the other guy, the guy that wrote the book like immediately after the Super Bowl. Oh,
Yeah, I'm drawing a
it's
blank on
gonna
that.
kill me now. It's gonna kill me now.
No.
What's the guy's name? Not Sirianni. Doug Peterson.
Oh, and you know what? I left. Okay, good. Yeah, totally forgot about Doug. I think he's working in a front
Doug
office
Peterson.
somewhere. Is he in a front
He is,
office somewhere?
but Mike. I'd have to look it up. He might be. He
Okay.
he was actually brought in as like a head coach after that, and it didn't work out very well. But my concern with the Jags head coach is he presents himself a little bit like Doug Peterson. He he's manufacturing things that were never said, and he's coming up with things that are um, he's just presenting himself with a certain overconfidence in the way that he's speaking, while also trying to push back on things. I'm concerned, actually. Dude, the Jags are killing it this year. There's absolutely no mistaking it. But my concern is the head coach is he's presenting himself like a Doug Peterson style in terms of how he's communicating and what he's doing. Happy to be wrong, happy to be proven wrong. But I still think that there's the potential that if he doesn't course correct a little bit and doesn't kind of change, then I think that's the problem. I
I,
think he could be
I
a problem. I think basically I think he could have a really good team this year. And if he kind of tries the same shtick again, my concern is that the team won't respond the same way because
okay.
it's not a culture that he's building. It's not a culture that he's necessarily fostering. It's more of a victimhood mentality, if you will, as opposed to a culture.
Give me Mike
And I think that would be what
McDonald
I'm
vibes. The head coach for the Dolphins.
exactly the McDaniel vibes, which is like, woe is me, we have a problem, we need to try to fight adversity, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. That's not a culture. That's a mental mindset, and frankly, it'll become an anchor as the team continues to get better. Because eventually, then the thing is, well, we're winning now. What, right?
That's a
Whereas
good
when
point.
you're dealing with a yeah, like I'm sorry, like it's a legit thing.
No,
Like
I never would have thought about it that way, to be honest with you. That's a really good point. I also want to shout out a team that we just played, but we're talking about coaches that have impressed me. D'Amico
mhm,
Ryans has impressed me. I know they're
I
have
agree.
an elite
I agree.
defense, but that's another coach that these last couple seasons I've been really impressed with. Um, yeah, man, just there's probably some other ones I'm leaving out. Really don't mean to, but there's some really good coaching. I look, Sean Payton. That people have already known he was a good coach, so there's that. There's well, yeah. What is Clint Kubiak? That's the rumor. I think that's probably the Raiders' kind of favorite as of right now. Is they want a OC to pair with their future quarterback, their first round pick, Mendoza. So yeah, sounds like Raiders fans have it all made up, and it never plans. It never goes to plan. Believe me. I mean, it might go to plan for the Raiders, but
To plan. No.
we always are like, oh, we want this, that, and this, and it looks like it's going to line up. And so far, I think like the Raiders, they want Clint Kubiak, Mendoza, and whoever else. I don't know, but so if it's only two, we'll see. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, so I agree. I it's one of those. Well, there is a saying for a reason here, right? DZ, which is best laid plans,
Sure,
right? It's like
late to rest.
best laid plans kind of always got kind of go to crap, right? So it is. It's a really interesting thing to look at. By the way, I completely agree with you. D'Amico Ryans is impressive. Like as a coach,
Yeah,
he's
he's
he's he's kept his team on track. He's seemingly building a culture there. That's what I was saying before about my concern with the Jacksonville coach.
Yeah,
D'Amico Ryan seems to be
that's a
building like a
culture builder.
culture within the team. Yeah, yeah,
Look at who we
my
have
man.
here.
Hey guys, trying to
Haven't
see
seen
if this trying to see if this works. So tell me if your reception is terrible. But I was at the Sunset Station Casino here in Las Vegas watching Fernando Mendoza, just seeing if the hype is real. He looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. He looks pretty good. I was just I'm watching it with my wife, right, guys, and I was telling her, I said, look, man, our team sucks so bad that I would rather that we do what the Bears did. Because look how the Bears ended up by trading away to Bryce Young, right? Or because look, it only took them this long to be a relevant team. And
right.
granted, they got Ben Johnson and they had another bad year or whatever, but it eventually worked out for the long term vision. It worked out well for them, right? And I'm looking at a team like the Jets who they want a quarterback of their future badly, right? And who knows but if next year they were to say to me, and I'm Spytech, and they're like, dude, we'll give you our number 3 this year, our number 18 this year, our number 34 this year, we'll give you our first next year, and we'll give you something else. How would I turn something like that down, right? Like it'd be hard just because we suck. Like we are an absolute terrible team, Reg. No O line. The Pete, I know you were saying to me, maybe Pete will stay or not, but I honestly think if Pete screws this Sunday up and we win against the Chiefs, he's fired for sure. So he needs to make sure that he manages this well if he even wants a chance to coach for us again next year. I don't like the whole coaching turnover thing. So my idea, Nick, was all right. Let's say Pete does the job and we get the number 1 pick. We keep him the other year because we only have him for 2 more anyways. But we hire someone like Brian Dable as the offensive coordinator, right? Somebody who can work with a quarterback
And potentially
who become the head coach, and that to me would be fine. I'm good with it because I know people will be like off with Pete's head. But remember, I don't know if you guys remember, I was one of the people that was saying I didn't necessarily want to fire Antonio Pierce just because I thought we weren't going to be that good anyways. I was like, let him play his contract out. Let it play out the way it's supposed to play out. And instead, I felt like what happened this year was they tried to play this like middle game, right? Of we're going to try to win now. / we don't really have the pieces to win now. So then, when you're the master of too many things, you're the master of none, really. And they could have just said, "Screw it, we're going to lose this year. We're gonna instead." So if they go with the whole Fernando Mendoza, because as you said, Nick, everybody's like they're doing the Abba song, bro. Raider Nation's going crazy for him right now, and I was even telling her, I said, if this kid wins the national championship and he looks as accurate as he does, looking like a more athletic Tom Brady, it is going to be very difficult for Spytech to say no.
yeah.
So if they take this kid, they better take every bit of $140 million cap space on the best O line they can get next year. Otherwise, what's the point, gentlemen? What is the point?
Angelo, you bring up a good point about
Yeah.
with the Jets potentially, right? Maybe with a potential trade back, because the college guys that I follow and have been listening to, they say that the good group of quarterbacks are coming out next year's draft.
Yes.
So, like, say Spycheck or whatever is not sold on Mendoza, or he thinks he's really good, but you get a king's ransom for him. I mean, why not? It's. I'm glad I'm not making those decisions, though. Let's just say that.
Well, actually, I have a different question for you on that. Same line, same vein. All right. You're a Raiders fan. There's a whack of them in the chat. So let's look. I want all the Raiders hate to come my way because I'm rocking my orange here. So I'm sure that there's going to be lots of that crap. But I truly mean this in the best way possible because ultimately I would like the West to be the most competitive division in football. And I need the Raiders to kind of get themselves back up into competitiveness in order for that to happen. And the Broncos Raiders rivalry is legendary, so I wouldn't mind having that be, as vaunted as it once was. So here's my thought. How would your fan base react to not going QB this year, also keeping Pete as you stated, and then trying to basically tee yourself up for a not great season next year, to be quite blunt, but basically tee yourself up to then try to get a bunch of capital to get your quarterback a future for next year? Because that's basically your fan base is not happy right now, and I wonder how that sort of strategy would play out with them.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a non-starter with the fan base because they want, the fan base always wants someone's head, right? Like it's always like off with someone's head, we've been, but my entire point is since the Gruden thing happened, the problem with our group is it's indecisiveness of everything, right? All right, so Tom Brady's the owner now. Great. Is he the boss? I'd like to know who the boss is. Somebody needs to be the boss, right? And I even felt like in this year's draft, as you guys know, when I went on the show a couple of times, I was like, what we need is O-line. And who I wanted actually did pan out extremely well. Armand Membu. He's like top 5 best first round picks, right? If we had gotten Armand Membu, not a sexy pick, but it would have given us the trajectory to continue to build on our O-line. Not only did we not really get O-line, I mean, I get it. People are talking about the whole Caleb Rogers and Grant and whatnot experiment, but we didn't get a good O-line coach to begin with, right? So what's the point? Like, what are we doing? So that's why I feel like now the fan base is so sold on, yay, we got the number 1 pick. Pete Carroll's too old. Let's get rid of him now. I'm kind of like, all right, if Tom Brady finally puts his foot in that door and says, okay, I'm in charge. Spytech, you're my guy. So let me see you whiz it up. How would you like to do this? If Spytech says, I think we should just get Fernando Mendoza right now, right? Then I also want to see him do the whole, great, now we got to spend all our money on O-line. And as a fan base, if they do that, the fan base in the beginning, and you know how this goes, both of you guys know how the Raiders fan base are, they're going to be like, yay, Fernando Mendoza. Oh, this is going to be a great year. Yay. I'm going to be one of the people that's a realist that's going to say to myself, great, rookie quarterback. I'm not expecting anything other than please do not get hurt. let's get the system going with Genty and Bowers, and let's get a solidified okay-ish year. But let's see how the whole thing meshes going into the following season. So to answer your question, Rich, Pete's probably gone in a scenario like that. Just because unless, like I said, unless my scenario plays out, they're probably already looking at, I don't know, Stefanski or Kubiak, like you said, Nick, or, they're already like looking to get rid of Pete, right? Again, for me, I'm okay with keeping Pete in the sense that Pete, do the job you're here for, which is to manage, and that's it, bro. Like let whoever gets hired as the offensive coordinator, let that person be that guy. Let the defensive coordinator be that person. Like I know it's weird, but I'd almost want them to be like, all right, we're going to hire so-and-so if Patrick Graham wants to leave, which I hope he doesn't. But if he does, you hire Saleh to be the defensive coach. You hire Dable to be the offensive coach. And you keep Pete one more year, and then you say to both guys, this is your audition to be the head coach next year after Pete. So whichever one of you do better on your side, gets to be the head coach of the Raiders for the future. I'll give you like a 10-year contract or whatever, a long-term contract, the same way I did Gruden. And again, it sounds stupid and unconservative, but as opposed to what, Rich? As opposed to how sucky we've been and a revolving door of firing and hiring GMs and coaches, you know, the one thing that I know is we have Spytek for, I believe it was a 5-year contract. So now we're going into year 2. If we get him for 4 more years, man, Spytek ties himself into a Fernando Mendoza. Now we're going to, you know, at least we'll have something to talk about in terms of going into the future.
Yeah, so my concern with Spytek, though, is his first hire, or no, he was hired after Pete, wasn't he?
I thought he was hired before Pete.
Okay, so that changes things because I thought it was the reverse, but if it was the way you said it, then you have to go there, say, dude, you struck out once on a head coach already, and arguably badly, right? Because not only did Pete come in as a difference maker or attempted difference maker, but it's clear that they didn't do their homework on whether or not his mental headspace was the same as it was at the beginning in Seattle or at the end of Seattle. At the end of Seattle, he had one foot out the door and had a mojito in hand kind of thing. Like he was not the same coach, you know what I mean? Like he was not the same guy. When he started off in Seattle, he was vicious. He would be like, it's Thursday. All the DBs get out there and show me you belong on the team. And he'd have them like literally like slaughter each other on the field. Like it was like Gladiator every other practice, right? And that built the Legion of Boom as we all knew it to be. And that was one hell of a defense. So you didn't know, was Pete's decline in Seattle because of the team and the ownership and stuff like that kind of, you know, putting their thumb on the scale? Or was that Pete kind of maybe getting old and being like, you know, I'm halfway to the golf course, you know, with the cart lady feeding me drinks? And I think it's the latter now. I think he's definitely closer to the cart lady on a golf course than he is being thumb on scale by an owner.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree. I mean, you guys are watching it. You're seeing. You're seeing what the same things we're seeing. I mean, the funny thing is, and I think I told you this, Nick, when we were doing our draft show. But I was saying how this year, before the year started, my wife was so heavily into thinking because of Pete Carroll, we're going to make it in the playoffs, that there was a household argument, and where it sounded like we were seriously arguing about, you know, like something that's vastly far more important than me explaining to her, not only are we going to suck badly, but we'll be lucky if we win 5 to 6 games. And I was correct. You know, we didn't even come close to it, which is what I've been saying the whole time. I think that, like, the Washington Commanders experiment from last year made everybody think, oh, you can turn everything around in year 1. And you guys both know, man, it doesn't work that way. So here we are, 2 wins. Let's say we do the job, lose some teams correctly. No one gets injured. And moving into this next time, we have a chance to get a Fernando Mendoza. Other than, like what you said, Nick, like King's Ransom, man. King's Ransom that you can sell to the fan base. That, hey, guys, think about it. If we, you know, like where Spytek can go into a press conference and literally be brutally honest and go, listen, I know what the fans wanted, and Fernando's going to be a great player for the Jets. But really ask yourselves, how many things did we need as a team to grow into becoming a Super Bowl team, and possibly even having a chance to be that by the time the Las Vegas Super Bowl rolls around in 2028, right? Like that's the way you sell it. You have to sell it like, hey, I have a vision that by my 4th year, we're going to be have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, which, by the way, will happen to be in Allegiant Stadium. Like that's the way you have to sell it to the fans. That way the fans will be like, you know what, bro, you're absolutely right. One guy couldn't turn this around anyways. So good luck to Fernando, but shit, we got 2 first-round picks this year, plus an early. Really, if the Jets gave us number 3, number 18, number 34, it almost feels like we got 3 first-round picks this year, on top of like whatever they give us for the following year. But I mean, again, I don't even know if the Jets are going to be stupid enough to do that, because the Jets know themselves that they have all these first picks. They're kind of in the rebuilding mode themselves to try to figure out what they want to do. And if Aaron Glenn gets to keep his job, I don't think he's trying to get fired on a win now mode. So yeah, man. I think we're in the best position that we can be in, given the shit show scenario that we're stuck into. My biggest take, gentlemen, will be: is Tom Brady going to actually do a job, or is he just going to be a name? And is Mark Davis the, I mean, I can't even hate on Mark Davis. Like people who hate on him don't understand. Like, look, man, the guy's the one spending all his fucking money paying all these coaches that aren't coaching for us. I almost feel bad for him sometimes, right? But I do want, and I know some of the Raider fans are going to hate me saying this. One of my best friends is a Cowboy fan, and I always have to talk him off the ledge. But I almost want us to have a very Jerry Jones type of upper management, because I want someone to dictate the direction. I want someone to just tell us which way are we going. Because right now, I still don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
And it's very intriguing from an outsider looking in at the Raiders right now. Richie and I were talking about it at the beginning of the show and before the show.
Yeah.
It's like a soap opera. It's like a telenovela with the Raiders right now. Like, what are they going to do? How's this going to work out? But I mean, sometimes I'm thinking, like, don't overthink it and just get Fernando. Just get him. Just get the kid, man. You're gonna look from a business standpoint. It's probably gonna, if the Raiders do draft him, guaranteed that's the number 1 selling jersey next year in all of the NFL.
Yeah.
So you're gonna boost sales that way. You'll attract a coach. You'll probably attract a really good coach. But somebody in the chat made a good point. Need to pair Mendoza up with a good OC. Build up the trenches. Yeah. So. Yeah, probably don't overthink it. I guess, a King's ransom or a Mendoza or bust,
Right.
But the head coaching is where I'm like, okay, let's see where they go, because there's rumors. There's Mike Tomlin rumors. There's Clint Kubiak. I mean, Jesse Minter, I've even heard. But yeah, so who knows?
And to your point, Nick, let's not overthink it, right? What is so bad about Brian Daboll? Like, you guys try to tell me, because for me, I'm kind of like, what did I see Brian Daboll do? Works well with a quarterback, right? The Giants was a shitty-ass organization the way they were running it, right? So I don't blame that on Daboll, but in terms of coaching, even the way he was trying to coach Jackson Dart, I'm like, yeah, I have no problem with Brian Daboll coming in if he got hired. I'd be like, great, let me see what he does.
And you make a good point. Like, say they were to keep Pete and hire Daboll and say, look, man, we want you to be his successor, kind of thing. Something like along those lines, and bring him up. Because I don't think Daboll wants to do a lateral move unless there is, a head coaching gig out of it or something like that. But I mean, I know probably 10 teams in the league that would take Daboll right now as an OC.
Yep.
To come back to their team, me included. I would fire my OC right now. I would help him pack his stuff for Daboll. So, I mean, there's some intriguing stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
so Angelo, on Daboll's note, DZ here can attest to it. On no fewer than 3 shows, I have been saying that I think your next head coach should be Daboll. Now, I actually like your idea better. Right? I actually like what you're saying better, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, because what bringing in Dayball means is that Pete Carroll gets to pretty much focus on the defensive side of the ball, which is kind of his
which is
general
fine.
strength. And he
Right.
can just kind of go over that way and become kind of like the game plan manager kind of guy and just lean on Dayball to do the offensive stuff, right? Frankly, Patrick Graham is quite a good DC as well. So it's not like you're sitting there starving for talent if you bring in a guy like Dayball. You put Dayball and you elevate him to offensive coordinator and assistant coach or something like that, some kind of combo title, which, by the way, is not unheard of in the NFL. So it exists in multiple
Pretty
different
common.
teams. So this is not an uncommon thing that I'm suggesting. And you basically then put the writing on the wall that Brian Dayball is your heir apparent. And then he's also, as you said, and trust me, I've had the Raiders fans, slam me in the chat. Frankly, I just say bring it on because like the stats and the information's on my side. So like, sorry but not sorry. Dayball is the only coach that's available right now
Right.
that has proven to elevate one or more rookie or very young quarterbacks to a level that you would say are at or even in Josh Allen's case, if we're going to be honest, took Josh Allen from being a guy that was not great to a dude that is now deemed an elite top 3, top 5 quarterback by every metric.
Right. Right.
Dayball was the dude that did it. So if you're going after a young quarterback, why wouldn't you want a guy that's shown that he can be the reason why the young quarterback has done well?
Right.
Like I just it doesn't make sense to me. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's like there's no problem with that.
Yeah. No. And again, if what we're trying to do as an organization is, I mean, I think it's a save face move, right? Like as an organization, Mark Davis needs to save face and be like, fuck, man, how many times am I going to be paying coaches on a couch? And now you're going to ask me to do it for Pete Carroll again? Let me pump the brakes here, all right? I'm going to have a sit down with Pete. And then he just says to Pete, listen to me, man. You're already getting slammed for getting in the way of Chip Kelly, who, by the way, I have to pay $6 million to for the next, I think, 2 more years, because then you have to fire her. Whatever. Okay, I'm paying it. So now as a favor for me, you're going to shut up and not mess with the offense. We're bringing in Brian Daboll. He is completely in charge of that side, right? You get to go there, you get to smile, you get to go ahead and say, good job, gentlemen, and that's it. I need you to shut up, and that's it. Okay. In the meantime, please stick to the defense, which is what. And by the way, even with I don't know if him and Patrick Graham are working well, but what I'll say is, you did see that a lot of our defense this year, there was a lot of Carroll touches to it, getting Darian Porter and wanting to
quarterback situation.
Yeah, definitely the quarterback. So I'm kind of like, look, man. As long as if Patrick Graham doesn't want to leave because we're paying him, let's say, better than the average defensive coordinator, and Rob Leonard wants to stay with us, and Max and everybody's cool, you could almost make that it's like a divided house but with order. Here's the offense side, here's the defense side, and I'm going to make kind of a comical comparison, but it's kind of like remember the Titans, right? Denzel, you get to stay on this side. Coach Yost, you get to stay on this side. And let's see if we can see what happens, right? And as a fan, for me, DZ, I would be like, you know what? It'll be fun. No matter what the heck happens to us in 2026, I at least have direction. If the offense is failing and the defense is doing well, I can just blame Daboll. If the defense is doing good, but the offense is progressing well with Jenkins, Bowers, Fernando Mendoza, and whoever else, right? Michael Mayer finally starts to play well, right? We have a great backup for Fernando Mendoza and Aiden O'Connell, right? Like, great, awesome. Now I get to go, hey, Steve, Pete, man, you and Patrick Graham, you guys got to get your stuff together. You know what I mean? So as a fan, that would be more fun. But again, man, I don't know. I don't. Does Tom Brady have the ability to step in and go, I'm a 10% owner, and you're going to do what I say? And is Spytech old enough as a person that he can step in there and not? I felt like he kowtowed a lot to whatever Pete Carroll wanted last year in the draft room. I don't necessarily blame Spytech all the way for the draft because I feel like it's like Pete's lore was like making him not make the moves that I think he would have wanted to make. I feel like Spytech, if you give him a chance, let's just see. I mean, again, Rich, I don't know. I wasn't in that room. I'm just saying though, this year, I would like to see it be an all hey, like where Tom Brady or Mark Davis even says, Spytech, this is your room. So if you screw this up, you're definitely on the chopping block. But this is your room. So let's see you do your whiz kid stuff.
So here's my answer to that. If that was not Spytech's draft, then why did those young rookies not even see the field until you had basically too many injuries to say they can't? Like you had no choice. Rodgers is on the field right now today. Like as we talk, he's about to go out again for your Sunday night game. Not because Pete was like, yes, dude, I want you on the field, but because he's like, dude, I have nobody else that I can play in your place because everyone else is hurt. Right? That's the long and the short of it. That's where you're at with it. So my reason for saying no to your take on that isn't because I don't think there's potential validity to it, but it's because my lying eyes are not lying to me. I saw what happened over the course of your season, and it was literally clear as day. In my opinion, Spytech did run the draft. In my opinion, the draft that you saw from your Raiders this year was Spytech, and Pete did his little old man temper tantrum and started throwing his boxes of depends across the room because he didn't like the fact that Spytech picked a bunch of guys that were not Pete Carroll guys. And then Pete Carroll said, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go and get my guys from Seattle and bring them in on like these little touchy-feely deals like 1-year rentals and that sort of thing. And I'm going to play those guys instead of the guys you drafted because I think I know better. And guess what? Pete was wrong. Pete did not know better. Pete's son is not a competent running backs coach or offensive line coach. We did not see any marked progress from any of your offensive linemen at all. And so my point is, I have questions about Spytech myself, which is he an actual GM that you can rely and count on for being a guy of the future? I don't think we truly know that yet, because what you need is a head coach, like a GM to head coach pipeline where the two aren't at loggerheads with one another, so that if Spytech gives the head coach players, the head coach plays those players, tries to coach them up, and if those players fail or don't do well or whatever the case may be, then the head coach can go back to the ownership group and say, I'm trying to work with what this guy's giving me and it's not doing well. He's got to go.
I'm going to give Spytech the benefit of the doubt, though. I'm going to give him benefit. He spent, I think, a couple decades in front office roles, scouting and whatnot, similar or damn near identical to Joe Ortiz, who's with the Chargers as their GM. I mean, they both had pretty similar paths to becoming GMs. That's pretty much how most of these guys get these jobs. So, there's going to be a learning curve for these guys, especially in their first 1, 2, 3, 4 drafts. But, it only takes a few of these players for them to bang on. And Spytech, I mean, he hits Mendoza and that hits. I mean, the rest is history for him. And I get what you're saying, Richie, but, there's going to be growing pain. You just got to learn to rock and roll with it. And, something that Angelo talked about is the turnover in the coaching. They can't have that, especially at the GM spot. So got to get him situated, get him cemented, this is his organization. outside of Mark, and it's his job. Look, I don't think anybody. I mean, we can say maybe we saw some sort of decline with Pete, but when they hired him, I was like, oh wow, okay, that's a accomplished coach. This is a culture bringer or changer, and it just for one reason or another just did not happen this year. So
Yeah.
look, it was an unfortunate event. It just didn't. It was never meant to be, I guess.
Look,
Yeah, no,
my point here, just to add on to that, and I'll throw over to you, Angelo, is there is only one coach out there that I think has the gravitas that may or may not be available that will be able to um, really send a ripple through your organization that has tremendous respect in today's NFL, and that's Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin is the only coach that could come in and basically put a guy like Max Crosby, as good as he is, and trust me, he is good. Okay. Like we all know how I feel about Max Crosby. He's a great player. But Tomlin is the only coach at that kind of caliber and that level that has the proven track record of keeping a sustainable culture and show to be winning as a head coach. Pete Carroll, while he's had a career where he's won a Super Bowl and done well,
Kind of went.
has also shown that he's kind of done one of these nosedives sort of deal, right?
That's true.
And so the whole point is Tom has kind of kept his team here with like a blip to Super Bowl, but he's never dropped below a certain level, which just shows that he's kind of that culture tone setter. And someone like Max Crosby will not then attempt to take over a locker room with a strong head coach in there like a Mike Tomlin. And that may be the thing that the Raiders actually need, as well as a new quarterback in there to truly turn things around and move you guys in the right direction. And he would be the only guy that I'd be like, dude, it's Tomlin. Like, I'm sorry. Like, the answer is like, good for you. Like, congratulations. And he'd be the only other guy that I would probably say would be an equal to a guy like Dayball, for example, from a culture and tone setter.
right. No, I mean I wouldn't disagree with the Tomlin thing. I just think Pittsburgh would be that's a hell of a move for Pittsburgh if they let Tomlin go. And that's why I'm not even buying into it. That's why I'm not even talking about Tomlin being the Raiders' next head coach, because in my head, I would be the most shocked person if Pittsburgh let Tomlin go. They've historically always kept their long-term coaches. Tomlin has not done anything egregious to the point where you should be firing him anyway or letting him go for any reason. And he's still young. He's not like old. Tomlin's still a young head coach, So at the end of the day, again, Pittsburgh ownership, listen to me, man. You guys are a bunch of dummies if you let that guy go. But if you do, I'll be the first one on the bandwagon going, great, pay him whatever you want, give him a 10-year contract.
I think it's the Steeler fan base, Angelo, and the local media and sports talk shows that are kind of just getting tired of these, which is crazy to say, right? Especially me being a Chargers fan, even you Raiders or Broncos, but they're tired of having 9-win seasons. Like they want more, and they think that maybe Tomlin is kind of just peaked. Let's just say. So, yeah.
GZ, I'm going to give you an example.
Well, hey, real quick,
Steelers fans see that he is John Fox, like John Fox to the Broncos.
I remember John.
We had 2 or 3 seasons with John Fox, and we had like very good seasons like the entire time he was with the Broncos. But the Broncos fan base and the Broncos ownership at the time, which was still the Bolin family, saw John Fox as like the reason why they weren't able to quite get to that next level. And then they brought in Gary Kubiak instead. And as soon as you brought in Gary Kubiak, and as soon as you brought in kind of that major shift and that major change, a spark, if you will, in terms of a different offensive style that was really well suited for the Mile High City, which is that like kind of run heavy, outside zone run style, the Shanahan-esque kind of game plan. You went from here to that next level up, and we ended up winning Super Bowl 50. I think that's where the Steelers fan base is at. They're kind of seeing him as the John Fox in Pittsburgh. Really, really good. No complaints, really, but they kind of see it as like we've kind of seen the ceiling, and we kind of want to elevate ourselves above that now.
I think
Yeah,
real quick. My theory is they give Tomlin one more season. And look, this is just me thinking, like, this is making it up in my own head, right? Because of all the chatter we've heard around him. I think they give him one season, and the reason being is the draft is in Pittsburgh this year.
Yeah.
I think they want their storied, longtime franchise coach to be there in Pittsburgh for the draft, and they want to give him one more shot. But like I said, we'll see.
All right. Well, I just want to. I'll just add on that Pittsburgh, that Tomlin thing just real fast. But if what you're saying is true, he said, right? If I'm Tomlin and Tom Brady called me on the phone and said, "Hey, bro, you can play this game of they're going to give you one more year, or I'm going to hand you the keys to the kingdom of the Raiders." Raider Nation will be fine with it because they've seen how you've stabilized the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're not talking about some weak ass little 3-year deal here. I'm going to give you what 5, 7.
Like
What's gonna at least minimum of 5 with an option of whatever. But you will be the head coach. There will be no firing, and because we had such a shitty year last year, I'm not even expecting you to. You're going to do you. If we make the playoffs next year, great. If we don't, I don't care. I just need you to build the. I need you to build the culture. And by the way, you're working alongside with Spytech, who will be in charge of providing the ingredients for the chef. Which again, and I go back full circle to this. The reason why I kind of disagree with you on your take about it, Rich, is Darian Porter to me was not a Spytech thing. Even Jack Besh to me wasn't a Spytech thing. I feel like maybe you were right in the first round, and maybe there were arguments. So then Spytech, being the kid that he is, deferred a little too much. And that's what I agree with what Nick is saying about this, is where if now he learned his lesson and he goes, look, I did it that way where I was trying to be the friendly GM and work together and politically correct and blah, blah, blah. Now I'm just going to do it my way because it's my ass for the next 4 years. So I'm going to make the moves that I think are no-brainers. Fernando Mendoza, that's a no-brainer. By the way, I need to get this guy, I need to get this guy, I need to get this guy. And since you're my head coach, whoever that is, I don't really care because that's not my job. My job was to give you players. Your job is to coach them. That's the way this deal works. That's what I, as a fan, I want to see that. I even want to hear that in a press conference. I don't even want to hear them, oh, we're blending together. I don't want to hear none of that garbage. Hey, GM, you're the press conference for GM. Great. We're talking about the GM part. I almost want our GM to be a little bit more like, yeah, I picked so-and-so because so-and-so showed this in college and blah, 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 and here's the reason why. Well, what do you think of his development so far? I don't know. Not my job. I'm looking for all the other guys that's coming. I'm looking for the next trade I need to make. Like, I need a GM like, who's the guy? What's the guy's name for Philadelphia, the Eagles? What's the GM?
Roseman, Howie Roseman.
Roseman.
Okay.
Roseman.
Yeah, I need someone like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, be a boss, bro. Be a GM like that. Like sometimes you think his moves are weird, but it really hasn't been. And until they actually get dethroned, which, by the way, if the Eagles do lose this year and doesn't make it to the Super Bowl or whatever, Roseman's not the one getting fired, right? They're not going to be firing him. They'll be talking about the head coach going. So that's what I need our young GM, Rich, to be that guy, to be like, you're our GM, so be a GM.
Right. So my only caveat to that is this. If you bring in a head coach, I'm going to use Kubiak here as an example. You can use Clint or his dad, Gary, but either way, they're both basically chips off the old Shanahan tree. And I don't mean Kyle, I mean Mike. Okay. Okay. So, like, let's just call that for what it is. Now, that is outside zone running. That is, I give you 4 or 5 looks and I run like 20 different plays from those same 4 or 5 looks, right? So that's the deal, right? That's the deal. Now, if you know you're running an outside zone scheme and your young GM's like, I'm going to give you a dude that's only power, then I'm sorry, that's on your GM, not on your coach. And at some point, there needs to be some accountability in that regard. So I will agree with you like 90% of the way. and then I will say, like, I have a whack of stipulations once we get to that like last 10%, which is your GM needs to give you dudes that fit the scheme that you're trying to run. If you give me a guy that can't run my defensive scheme or offensive scheme, then my answer back as a head coach is I'm going back to ownership and saying, this dude's a retard. He gave me a guy that doesn't fit my scheme. Like, what's the matter with this clown? And I'm making it known because I know full well as a coach that I'm going to get blamed from the dude that you brought into my team that doesn't fit anything I do. Right. And so I think there needs to be some, that's what I said. You need a pipeline between the GM and the head coach. But I do agree with you, though, is as a GM, you need to put your foot down and say, I know you wanted John Smith. Guess what? I'm giving you Jacob over here, who I think is a better player for your scheme. Now sit down, shut up, and coach him.
Right.
And I agree with that, but you need to do it within the box, right? Like, you need to do it within the direction of the team. So.
Right, and that's what I'm asking for, guys. Is I'm asking for what is the box, right? Because again, like I can definitely nitpick on Spytech this year. For example, the Kenny Pickett trade. That baffled me. I'm like, why are we giving away a fifth rounder for Kenny Pickett? Because he was going to get cut anyway, or whatever. But he's definitely not worth the fifth. So why did we do that? Or but on the flip side, I'm kind of like, all right. So you got Booker. Booker's okay. Like I won't say he was terrible. So all right, you did your little like whiz kid thing there, sure. But there were parts of me, DZ, where I was like, dude, are you in with Howie Roseman? Like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? What is this little weird partnership you got with the Eagles?
You could also nitpick Spytech a little bit just for the fact that I think you guys had 3 third-round picks, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, now
it was Porter and then two of the O-lines.
And then 2 of those 3 third-round picks are off roster right now.
Right.
I mean, Miami just picked up that QB and signed him to the active roster, which I thought was an interesting move.
Right.
What was his Campbell? What was his name? Campbell? Anybody know that guy's name? The quarterback.
Are you talking about the coach's kid?
The quarterback you guys drafted.
Oh yeah, from from North Dakota State or something like that, or from one of those Division II teams. He was in the 7th round though.
Hang on, let me see what I was talking about.
Yeah. No, but again, like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, 3 of the 6th round picks. What? I said the 3rd round. My bad.
Yeah. No, I knew you were talking about the Montana State Cam Miller and Tommy Milot. Right.
Yeah. My bad.
Yeah. No. But I mean that
6 rounds are like whatever. So.
Yeah. No. I'm mainly. I mean, again, like what's made it, especially for AFC West. So what the Raiders did is it's kind of like the Cowboys. We make everything relevant because everybody wants to see the teleseria that we tend to give everyone. In the meantime, you see the Broncos. They got Sean Payton. The biggest controversy for him was, the Russell Wilson move. And surprise, surprise, they look like they're going to the Super Bowl this year, right? So that didn't take too long, right? Sean Payton, good job. Same thing. Jim Harbaugh. And then you got Raider Nation people going, we didn't want Harbaugh anyways. Well, are you sure? Because he's doing pretty damn good with his system. And honestly, Nick, if you didn't have so many injuries this year, you guys might be the AFC West champs. But the injuries, man, especially the O line, dude, that's what got you guys, man.
There's a lot of stuff I say on this show there's a lot of stuff I don't say on this show. So when this show ends, in my own home, I can say what I want to say, and let's just say, yeah, I agree with you, but it is what it is. And look, there's some things Jim has brought over some people that I really don't agree with, and I think a big portion of the fan base doesn't agree with. Just like Pete brought over some guys that you guys aren't too thrilled about. On the offensive side for the Chargers, O-line coach, tight end coach, offensive coordinator, all holding back. I really believe we're holding back the team outside of those injuries. But, what are you going to do, right? You're going to go in the playoffs.
You guys are going to go in the playoffs.
Get bounced again, and Justin Herbert's name is going to get smeared even more because he's going to be one and done in 3 playoffs with different coaches. And it's
the difference with me, Nick, when it comes to Herbert is maybe after when you guys lost to Jacksonville, I think that one time, right? I forgot which one it was. You were one and done in the playoffs. Maybe it was 2 years ago, I think, right? There was that trajectory. But what Herbert showed me this year, and I don't know, maybe it's because of his new girlfriend, I'm not sure, but man, that kid is one tough SOB. And that, it makes me go, that's a guy you hang on to, no matter how injured he gets, he finds a way. You can tell that the people rally around him, right? You give him a good offense. I mean, who saw Quentin Johnson, other than me, by the way, he drafted him, but who saw Quentin Johnson, Nick, become the powerhouse that he was in the early part of the season? No one thought he'd be as good as he was, man. And Herbert made him work, right? Keenan Allen, Herbert made it work. Like, Herbert's the real deal, dude. And people can cry about Herbert in the Charger fan base all they want, but trust me, from a team who hasn't had a quarterback in a bit, that Herbert is someone you keep, and I think Harbaugh and Herbert are going to be just fine together, just like what's happening with Peyton and Nix now, man. All right, the Bo Nix thing, it's really working, and I can only see Bo Nix getting better, not worse.
Yeah.
And I can only see Peyton growing. Like, the Broncos, to me, is the one that's the most interesting because they turned it around even faster than I thought. I was like, I didn't think you guys were going to be this good this soon, right? But they are. And again, I don't want to jinx it for our good buddy Rich, but it looks like a Super Bowl team to me, man. I mean, like, defense is on point. As long as your quarterback listens to his head coach and doesn't gamble too much. The Harvey move was a great move, which, by the way, that was one of my dumbass moves right there, Nick, on the B team league. Is I should have just started him like a dummy, and I didn't. I picked dibs over him, and he is every bit that receiving guy that really matters, and. I don't know if the Ingram thing was a good move or a bad move yet, but I think for the people who don't think Ingram matters, the playoffs is going to show us how much Evan Ingram really matters. I think that's where he's going to shine. Yes,
yep.
Yeah.
I think savvy vets step up. Yep.
Yeah. And Cortland Sutton's been my guy in fantasy all year, man. I rocked with him. Even when he had the bad days, I was kind of like, Bo Nix likes throwing to him, and then the Troy Franklin thing seems to really be working out from their Oregon days. So they're in the right trajectory. If they don't make it to the Super Bowl, I definitely think they're making it to the AFC Championship game. Like they're really good. And I mean, honestly, Rich, when we were even talking 2 years ago on the podcast about this, did you think they were going to be this good this soon? Like you knew they were going to be good at some point, but this quickly.
I didn't think they were going to be this good for another 2 years. Another year from this year. So I thought it was going to take a full 3 seasons to get there. Um, I do think that there's a little bit of a fool's gold element even to my Broncos this season, a little bit. Um, One thing to keep in mind that's going on this part of the season, and you're a stats guy, so I encourage you to feel free to fact check me. And
Okay.
I'm looking forward to your text after you do, which is which is um, look at the Broncos' defensive stats with the delineating line being our bye week.
Okay. Okay.
It is frightening from a Broncos fan's perspective, right? Like as a Broncos fan, I'm concerned. It's like watching two different teams. The Broncos defense has obviously continued our third down stats and our red zone stats because we're still ranked basically number 1 in the league in those two statistics, so that's fine. But what the Broncos have done compared to the other parts is we haven't been getting the same number of sack productions out of the rest of the team. We're obviously still at a historic stat trajectory this season, which is
Right.
nothing to kind of shove
Bat an
off
eye
and be like,
at.
whatever, who
Yeah.
cares? Like, you're
Right.
like, whatever. No, it's like, no, that actually matters. Like, that's pretty friggin' impressive to have like such a wide array of guys that are able to get to the quarterback. That is nothing. You should be very proud of your team for being able to do that sort of thing. But what I'm getting at is our secondary hasn't been
Magic.
as effective or as magic. We haven't done the sorts of things that we did in the early part of the season. We haven't kept teams to like 3-and-outs, for example, to kind of keep us at like, we've allowed multiple drives, like multiple first downs to kind of
Right.
occur. Basically, second down, we've allowed a second down conversion rather than a third down conversion. And like, okay, so now your third down stats look great, but you still screwed up on the second down, so stop it, right? Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter at that point. Um, Little
Right.
quirky things like that. We've allowed some big chunk plays. We've allowed some running backs to go off on us from time to time. We've allowed the
Okay.
first half of games to get out of hand and then had to make some like magic coming back to come back and win like 33 points in the fourth quarter against the Giants magic.
Right.
Like come on
Right.
now. Like that's
Wow.
like you
Right.
can't score 33 points in a quarter on a regular basis. That crap doesn't happen. Okay? Like it just
Right.
doesn't.
Right.
Um
Right.
and so those are things that I have. Now, conversely, I look at DZ's team and I look at how the type of football that I personally believe that I want my team to start playing, and that is that kind of more grittier style of play, grinding
Yeah.
teams down and keeping yourself
Yeah.
competitive. Um, Sean Payton, it's kind of at this point here, you can't really say anything. He is definitely an incredibly gifted offensive minded coach.
Yeah. He is.
However, we need slightly more gritty offensive linemen to force the run without having to waste offensive players as like a big jumbo set to run the ball, for example. Like
Right.
jumbo sets are great, but you shouldn't be running them like 30 to 40% of the time,
It
right?
seems
Right.
like a
The
lot of
point is
teams are doing that right now due to injuries, but
right.
Houston's
But
doing
that's
it.
my point.
Chargers do. Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that's my point though, is that when you have, say, your core offensive line, just your 5 guys across the front,
Yeah.
and you're able to use those 5 guys and move other guys off the ball, well, now you're able to have a tight end run the seam route. You're then able to open up like running. Nice Merce. You're able to have other things. You're able to have other
It's
things
actually
like
my
that.
wife's first, but yes. Thank you.
Well, I was going to make a comment on the color and everything, but I was going to let that fly. You're the one that brought that up, not me. So, but my point is that when you're my point is that when you have the 5 guys doing their job properly, like we saw earlier in the year with your team, DZ, with Alt, and when you had Alt and like when you had the proper offensive line that was on the field, um, your front 5 were able to generally hold their own allow your running backs to do the things that they needed to do, and grind your way down the field to get those yards and get those first downs and that sort of thing.
Richie, I get what you're
And
saying, but
that's
we
what I don't like.
never.
Yeah.
I get 100% what you're saying, but with the Chargers, we didn't get to see that in the season at all because Slater went down before the season kicked off.
Yeah.
You're right, but you had Alt, that is a natural left tackle, able to slide back over to his left tackle position, and like, arguably speaking, he looks even better as a left tackle than he does a right tackle.
Yeah. Since Slater was such a good left tackle, they were like, "No, you're going to stay at right." Yeah, and then they
and isn't that a lovely problem to have when you have two tackles that can basically flip flop, and they basically are all pros no matter what spot they play at? Like I'm sorry,
it's amazing.
But that's not
it's amazing, except when they get season-ending injuries, and then you're just like,
yes.
Oh God,
Right.
how do you? I mean, like, you can replace one of them, but now you got to replace two, and then not kind of really harp on last week's game, but the Chargers, we actually have three guys who can play left tackle really well. And last week, our third left tackle, Jamari Salyer, did not play. And it showed, it was evident that he wasn't in the game. So it's magic, man. No, I mean, I saw that and I thought that was funny. But
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, man.
So, anyways, that's a lot on the. Yeah, that's a lot on the Raiders, but ultimately, you guys are going to have an interesting matchup. Angelo, real quick on the Raiders, just on your take on your upcoming game versus the Chiefs. Where do you see that game going, and what's your score prediction?
What I would love for it to go is exactly how the Giants game went. And let's not take any chances. Let's already be losing by 21 points at least by the half. And let's not goof around, right? Like this is, because you know what, the Chiefs, man, they're right now they have a top 10 pick. So if they lose to the Raiders, they might be like pick number 8 or 7, right? They're the type to mess around and try to lose this game. So like I said before, P, listen to me. If you'd like to keep a job for one more year, then do the right thing and make sure you manage this correctly so that we get the number 1 pick. If you do anything less than that, man, if you sit there and, we're going to go for it, guys, and you accidentally or purposely win this game, you're for sure fired. You are gone, bro. You know, kiss it goodbye. So my prediction would be, you're rooting for the Raiders to win?
Go Raiders.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me.
I'm wearing
you're
my
killing
black
me, man.
and white. I'm go Raiders this week. I'm just kidding.
You're killing me, bro. You're killing me. But no, my prediction would be that hopefully it's just like what happened in the Giants game, and we get to see all of the young, great offensive talent. And maybe this becomes a Travis Kelce game. Do you guys know if he's playing or not? Because this might be his last season, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't heard any Chief news. I think it's just, what's that guy's name? Oludokun. That's their quarterback going.
Yeah, the quarterback. Yeah.
I don't know. I still think that Kelce is going to probably want to come back and play with Mahomes next year. I don't think this is his last season. I don't think he wants to go out like that, but it would be.
Will he have a choice, Nick? Is the question. Will he have a choice?
I mean, good point. The Chiefs, they're set up with a good draft pick for the first time since I think like 2013, if I'm not mistaken. But they are like, I think 40 mil over the cap. So it's going to be an interesting rebuild for them. Like rebuild-ish. I don't want to say rebuild, but it's going to be an interesting offseason for them as well.
Yeah, no, I think that I think the Chiefs, Nick, they're smart enough to know that they won't have Patrick Mahomes next year because of the whole injury thing. He's going to have to recover. Like, take it easy on them, right? Let them be bad, all right? They'll get whatever picks they want. So if they don't have Kelce, they start offloading certain, money, whatever problems that they might have. 2 years from now, they could be back to being what they are, with a great quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. And anything less than that, then they end up being like the Raiders, caught in between a world of trying to be good while you actually don't have the pieces to be good. You know what I mean? So yeah.
In my opinion, this is the year where the Chiefs are going to go first round tackle. It'll be a right tackle or a left tackle because statistically speaking, and let's be honest, I'm sorry, their GM is no dummy. That dude is good.
Veach is a really good GM.
He is
Very
good.
So what's this? Howie Roseman, Veach, and then the Rams GM are like my top 3 GMs in the league. What's the Rams guy's name? God, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, McVay's guy. Yeah.
F them.
He's good too, though. He's really good. He's the guy that took Jared Verse and then took his buddy. Also, yeah, that guy was very smart.
But the thing is that the Chiefs are going to know right now that they're not going to end up with a top 10 pick like this again, probably in a while, because Mahomes is good enough to win you games, and like not just like 1 or 2, like 3 to 5, right? Like as a player, and so they're going to know that they need to get into the top 10 to get tackles, like a good one. And so I think that they're going to leverage that pick to get after their left or right tackle of the future. And that's my prediction for them. Now, obviously, picking that tackle from pick 8 versus pick 10, well, that's advantageous to them there, Angelo.
I can actually see a tackle or edge, Richie.
Maybe, but they have Karlaftis, they have Chris Jones, who is still a very, very good player.
Chris Jones is getting long in the tooth. He's getting slow. I mean, yeah, he shows up in the playoffs. Karlaftis, I don't think has been the guy, quote unquote. Like, I don't know, Zigzag's in here. Zigzag, wouldn't you want to see Karlaftis paired with like an up and comer and a top 10 pick on the edge? But yeah, it's either tackle or that. That's where I see them going for these high-end elite.
Yeah, I agree, but I do think that Angelo is onto something there. I think that the Kansas City organization is looking at this from a long haul perspective, and I do think that they can sell it pretty cleanly to their fan base, which is we can't get Mahomes back because if we do, he's going to be on IR for goodness knows how long. So they're gonna sell this to their fan base of like, we ain't going to be good next year. We're going to be taking all of the cap hits this coming year with Mahomes being out, and we're going to be pretty bad again probably. And then their goal will be to do a rebuild this year, a rebuild next year, and they intend come 27, basically, to come the 27 season, to basically be right back either at the top or darn near it within the division. That's their goal, I think.
Right. Yeah. That's why I'm hoping that this Sunday becomes the Travis Kelce kind of like retirement day of, Travis Kelce scored 5 touchdowns on the Raiders, and if this is goodbye, then what a way to say it. One of his biggest rivals, and great. That'd be awesome because I'd love to see.
Sounded like Chris Collinsworth right there.
Yeah, right. Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. So, but yeah, no. I really hope that again that all ends up working out the way it's supposed to. Good luck to both of you guys on your playoff run. I'm really excited to see it just as a football fan how far the Broncos and the Chargers will go. I don't think you'll be one and done this year, by the way. I think you guys will win a game, and then we'll see how it goes from there. So we'll find out. Harbaugh's a good coach, man. If nothing else, he is a really good coach.
With a historically bad, and I say that they have a historically bad offensive line in it, so they're going to need a miracle, I think, to not be one and done. And it's a seeding game, and it looks like the Bills.
Yeah, it's a seed. Yeah, that's
It looks like the
Bills are 5, right?
Well, so I think the Bills are playing the Jets this week, right?
Yeah,
I think so. Yes.
So both Bills, the Bills are resting their starters as well, and they're going to try to like one up the Chargers, because if the Chargers lose this week, they have to play New England, who I think that's who they want to play first round. Yeah, we don't want to play.
No. Wait a minute. That can't be right. No. Wait. That can't be right because New England gets the bye. So they got to play whoever's number 2. Oh, New England doesn't get the bye? Oh, the Broncos get the bye. That's right. So if the Broncos win, the Broncos get the bye. So number 2 plays number 7. That's right. So no, you're right. Do they want to play New England in New England? You guys don't want to play New England in New England, man.
So, I mean, New England would be. Look, I'm looking at all the teams. For some reason, the AFC South, except for the Titans, have the Chargers number. The Jags beat us down. When the Colts were on their rise, they demolished us. And we just saw what Houston did. Now, I wouldn't mind playing Houston again if we have Jamari Salyer back at left tackle. That was a very winnable game for us, but it's going to be in Houston. What SoCal said, I mean, look, if we can run the ball, I could see us running it on New England, but we couldn't run it on the Texans. Let's just say that. And that's probably for a myriad of reasons. We got down really quick by 2 scores within the first 6 minutes. So it was a catch-up game. So, if I had my pick,
we'll see, because it would be. Let me make sure I got this right. So let's say we go with what we think is going to happen. So the Chargers, the Jaguars, and the Steelers would be the 3, right? That are rounding out to 7, because we know that the Texans will be in, right? The Texans are in, and the Bills. So New England would be 2, the Bills would be 3.
Wait, I don't think the Texans are 100% yet. Let me see.
But they would round out the 7, right? So if New England is number 2, and the Bills the Bills couldn't be number 3 because it's a division thing. So number 3 would most likely be either the Texans or the Jaguars, right? And number 4 then would be the Steelers. So that means number 5 would be, it could be Chargers, and 5, 6, and 7 could end up being Chargers, Texans, and Bills.
So who it currently stands at 5 is Texans, at 6 is Chargers, at 7 is Bills. So everybody's predicting.
Yeah.
The Chargers are playing the Broncos. Broncos are going to win, get that first seed, and the Bills are going to beat the Jets. So the Chargers and Bills will swap seeds, and the Chargers would end up playing New England as the number 2 seed. Because
number 2 plays number 6? I thought number 2 plays number 7.
No, yes. So that's what I meant. It's confusing. I'm looking at the seating, but if
Chargers drop down again, Chargers go down.
Now, if
the Chargers would go down again.
If Harbaugh gets cute and Trey Lance or somebody tries to win a game against the Broncos, which I don't see happening, that would suck, because then they'd end up playing the Jaguars, who. Liam Cohen has Justin Minter's number. I do not want to play the Jags first round. I mean, if we have to, we have to. It is what it is. But, the best seed right now as a Chargers fan is probably the Patriots. And the Patriots are saying that themselves. They want to play the Chargers too. So both see themselves as favorable matchups right now.
I guess we'll find out. Out. Well, hey, I'm running out of batteries, guys. So I would go. But thanks for inviting me in. It's always a pleasure. I do want to say Happy New Year to everyone who's listening to the Wild Wild West on both the MHRT network and the Captain Jack Rackham channel. Happy New Year to you both. Congratulations to the champ. We must continue to call him the champ all the way until next season. So Nick played extremely well he pretty much got by mostly on his draft too. Draft a few good moves early into the season of Guillotine League. I think it was your first time playing Guillotine style too, right, Nick? It was his first time doing it. Yeah. So that the only thing is, I was trying to get Rich involved in it. I'm trying to get more people, especially content creators, involved in it because it is a fun league to play in, Rich. And the best part, Nick will tell you, is once you get eliminated, you don't even really have to think about it anymore.
Yeah,
you're just
done.
you're just watching
done.
to see.
So tell you
Keep the app
what,
going.
you message me earlier next year and I will sign up. Like I will.
Well, I'm
commit to that
messaging
now.
you
I
right
will
now,
sign up.
bro. I'm messaging you now. It's like we want people who are good football minds who will engage and actually go to the waiver wires, make bids, and I think that's what made it fun, right, Nick? Would you say that that's what made it fun for you this year? Is that like you didn't think people would spend $450 on Saquon Barkley on week 3? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, some people made some really outrageous, spent a lot of cap really early. I was trying to be very frugal with my cap space money, but outside of the app, the Guillotine app, it's
Yeah.
a fun league. The app kind of like really soured me at the beginning, but now that we're switching over to Sleeper next year, I think it should be a lot
Sleeper,
better.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no, for sure. And this is my PSA to Matthew Berry, bro. Matthew Berry, if you get to listen to this, I sent you so many damn messages. I gave you a chance for 2 seasons. Your app, the Guillotine League app, absolutely sucks. All of the people that I had to be the commissioner for, all they did was complain about it. I was constantly emailing your tech people, Matthew Berry. So I get it, man. You're Matthew Berry, so maybe you don't care. But that also tells us that since you don't care about us, we will now be switching to the Sleeper app for our Guillotine style. So thanks for giving us a good idea in the Guillotine League. But until you figure out your app, man, we are out. But yeah, Rich, we're looking forward to having you on as one of the 18 players. Probably the most fun part of the Guillotine League is the draft day because it takes so damn long to get everybody pushed through with the 1 minute time limit on an 18 player draft. 14, it's 14 rounds, 14 players, 14 players that you have to fill your roster with, but there's 18 of us doing it. So
it's a long time.
Be very, very fun. Yeah, it takes a long time, but it'll be very fun. We're looking forward to having you. So with that said, again, good luck to you guys both. Happy New Year. Thanks again. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'll see you guys soon.
Peace.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So, jumping right into our game, we kind of hit on it a little bit. Obviously, Raiders Chiefs. I do think that the Raiders will probably do enough to lose, but I could totally see Andy Reid like legitimately not like obviously, but just like actually accomplishing, kind of doing enough wonky things to just like literally have him lose the game. like because he is no dummy. That dude is one smart guy. Like, I'm sorry, he is one smart dude. And so just as much as he can do to win a game, he can do all the things to make himself look good but still lose the game as well. And I think that he has that in him as well. I also think that Angelo's point is well taken there, where I think the Chiefs are now looking this as a 2-year thing.
Well, something that we didn't talk about, Richie, is a lot of these ex-quarterbacks who've had the same injury as Mahomes, and especially how Mahomes does a lot of his damage, scrambling out of the pocket to the right, rolling out kind of thing. Yep. A lot of them have been like, look, dude, hindsight's 2020, but like I think it was like RG3 said, like, I wouldn't have played the next year knowing what I know now. Now, you did make a really great point, Richie, about that pick. It would be the wisest pick to get a tackle, with that pick. And because guess what? He's going to be in the pocket next year when he does come back. there's not going to be too much scrambling around and such. So, he's going to be a real pocket passer until he gets to be probably in the next, 2 seasons out of his injury where he can start running around again.
I'm not gonna lie, I really do like the quarterback that they have now as their backup.
Oh yeah,
He did an admirable job against the Broncos. He deserves a lot of credit. He played pretty darn well when we played the Chiefs last week, where he was making some pretty good throws and some pretty good plays. And so I think if they stick with him as like a starter to start the season next year, will they be incredibly competitive? Not like Mahomes, no, but he brings a different dimension to the game. And if you're going to be honest, if he can be trained up or coached up to maybe, you know, play the role of like a tight end or something where he's like inline blocking and then maybe catches a couple balls or something, and then they intermix him with Mahomes as like kind of like what Sean Payton did with his guy there in New Orleans for a block there. You could have some interesting offensive plays there with the Chiefs next season if they choose to bring Mahomes back sooner than I think they probably should. I do believe that the Chiefs' smartest move this offseason will be to take on the absolute brunt of all of their dead cap space by cutting guys to save themselves to get under the cap. Let Mahomes sit out a little bit, bring back in a guy, maybe not be quite as competitive as they've traditionally been, but get themselves healthy and start plotting their course of action for the future in 2027 and simply just do the right thing by the team and get themselves completely sorted. It's not going to be popular amongst the Chiefs fan base, but I do think that it may not be I think it might be a smart move rather for the Chiefs to kind of get themselves to a reset. And also start to retool on certain position players. Like they'll need a tight end. Travis Kelce's probably going to have to get cut in order for them to do what I'm talking about.
they need a running
Get
back.
themselves a new left tackle. That's an important piece. Get themselves a running back that can be like a stud guy. They're going to have to do the things in order to get themselves back on track as a team. And that's that. So, an interesting piece. But let's be honest, this is the sort of season that, as a Broncos fan, um, and also as others have been predicting for a period of time, that the Chiefs would eventually find themselves in. At some point, the right picks would not have been made. Like, in fairness, the Chiefs have had almost a horseshoe when it comes to draft picks. They've gotten Tyreek Hill, they got Travis Kelce, they got, they kept on basically hitting wins across the board for all of their draft picks. And at some point, they were bound to not always win. And the last 2 seasons, they've had Mahomes to kind of get them out of the way and into the Super Bowl at one point, and they got themselves blown out of the water by a better defensive line. And at some point now, the Chiefs are going to have to rebuild the way that they did before when Mahomes was first in the league. They're going to have to really solidify that wall in front of their quarterback to get their offensive line back to where it was so that they can keep themselves rolling and keep on winning games. Their quarterback's not getting any younger. He's already had this injury. They're going to have to make sure he stays upright because, I mean, he is easily still a top tier quarterback so long as he can come back even 3/4 of the way where he was. And the Chiefs would be smart, in my opinion, to focus on the top picks they can to bolster their lines in order to keep quarterback of next year safe and also Mahomes safe in the future.
Yeah.
So, but on to our games. I do see this as Broncos obviously winning because we're not going to be resting our starters. We're going
I
to
think you
be
guys are
trying
like
to
12 and
kind
a
of
half
go in.
point favorites or something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I actually I don't think we're going to cover that point spread. I think we're going to be probably
I think you
closer
do.
to you. Oh, you think we will? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm not
Well,
sure,
look,
and the
I
only
don't
reason
know.
why
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll give you my
my
feelings on
only
this.
point here is that I think that the defense is going to really run ruckshot because they're going to be trying to go for all sorts of sack records.
Okay.
Like I think the defense is going to be like they're going to try go NASCAR like and just
Yeah,
absolutely just go for the slaughterhouse. Like
yeah.
I think that the Broncos are going to aim for like a 17 sack game or something stupid. Like I truly think that they're
17,
going to
did you
try and
say?
go. Yeah, like I think they're going to be going into like they're going
Oh
to try and hit
shit!
records.
God damn.
Well, the Broncos defense have already have 7 and 8 sack games this season, right? Against starters, like proper starters in the NFL,
Yeah.
right? So we've had 7 and 8 sack games this season. And so I don't think it's a stretch for them to try to go into the mid-teens in terms of sacks against
Yeah, but this is
an
a game
offensive
where the
line.
Chargers are not trying to win, so I can just see them going fully just dumb and just going run, 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 punt, run, punt,
Yeah,
like something like that.
maybe. Yeah, maybe.
And
That's entirely possible.
another aspect of this is Trey Lance is a free agent after this season, so this is probably going to be an audition for him, to see if he can land somewhere. Look,
Yep.
let's face it. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, and some of these quarterbacks that have come out are not looking so good. He was drafted pretty high. He's been bouncing around for a minute, so the times I have seen him play, he's looked decent, but you just need to see more. It'll be interesting to see how he looks. I mean, look, it's kind of a tough defense to have an audition tape to go against. A team
Yep.
that's looking to get that, that first seed, secure the first seed in the playoffs. But there's going to be a lot of starters out for the Chargers. I'm already looking at the injury list. And it looks like a lot of the big names are going to be out of this. Looks like Hampton's going to be out. He's DNP. But to be honest, I don't know who will and who is playing. So it'll be interesting. Let me see. Oh, that went away. But yeah, I don't. And to be honest with you, I'm fine with not winning this game. I know there's some fans out there that are like wanting to win this game or try to win the game. But like I was telling Angel earlier, this is kind of coming down to like a seeding game now in the playoffs. Like, who do you feel comfortable, playing round one? And there's some teams that, I don't feel comfortable personally as a fan. I'm trying to get back to the injury report. Let me check. There we go. Okay, here we go. I mean, they did get some guys back this week to practice, which is good. So, but kind of interesting though. There was like 2 guys that popped up with concussions after our last game with concussion symptoms, which I didn't hear any of that, during or after the game. So that's really interesting. Our center, Bradley Bozeman, he's got concussion stuff. And then our third running back, Hassan Haskins, is dealing with concussion. But he's been limited. They're both been limited. So per Jim Harbaugh, he's pretty much said anybody with bumps and bruises they're going to try to hold out of this game. And
you have
another
15 people on your injury report.
Is it 15? Yeah, it looks like that. They're going to let Justin just rest for a while, which is fine. Man, Nico Reed with a hamstring. That's a guy that I was hoping that would be playing because he needs some playing time, and he's DNP 2 gate. That's not
He's
good.
DNP 2 in a row. He's probably not playing.
Yeah, that's not good because dang. And then Jamari Sawyer, he's not going to play. I know that. I know they're holding him out of practice. They don't want him practicing. It looks like Kamani Vidal will be back. Yeah, it's going to be RJ Mickens. It's good to have him back. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys that hold out of this. So,
yep.
I mean, they're saying they're not even dressing her like Herbert. Like he'll be in street clothes, like kind of thing. And that's our third string quarterback DJ Ukulele, or who will be the backup. So maybe he'll end up playing. But I can see this game getting out of control. score wise, or
Yep.
maybe I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have a score prediction, Richie. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was like 42-9 or something, some bizarre score like that.
It could be something like that. For example, so like here's where I'll give you something like a score like that, right? I think what could happen in the early stage of the game is as you said, you're going to try to go heavy on the run. But I think what Vance Joseph is going to do is go like full blitz on the offensive line that you guys have as a counter to that, and attempt to go tackles for loss against running backs and a quarterback who is kind of
Sure.
green. And try to go for like 3 and out for losses and stuff like that to just try to like absolutely.
We lost audio, buddy. Mic check, mic check.
What about now?
Yep, there you go.
So I think that the Broncos are going to probably try to go for the jugular early, and this is my general theory on the game, is I think they're going to go jugular early, try to really get the pressures there on the quarterback and the run game. And then this is really where I think the Broncos' depth on the defensive side of the ball is going to be interesting. And that is my Broncos defense, especially on the edges, like are like 3 guys that are backups
Yeah.
are starters on most other teams at the edge level.
Yeah, so
Like
that might be the case is, after halftime or maybe after the third quarter, Sean just starts pulling these guys and
starts pulling some of the guys back, right?
yeah,
Exactly. That's
yeah.
what my prediction is. So my prediction is if we get some, like, here's an example, right? You have a running back, he gets swarmed by say 3 Broncos defenders in the backfield because the offensive line isn't blocking properly, which is
Right.
by the way well within the realm of possibility,
Sure.
right? And if they end up with the ball getting punched out or something like that, and a fumble recovery or 2 or something like that occur as part of the game, again, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying it's definitely possible. And if the Broncos then score off of those and get themselves, say, up by, say, 14, I could start seeing some of the guys like Nick Bonito kind of find yourself on the sideline, my man. Unless they're looking at Nick Bonito contract, because by the way, Sean Payton's really good with this. If his guys have an escalator in their contract,
Yeah.
he
I'm
will
glad
let
you kind
them
of brought that up.
he will let them try to get it.
Well, I know you guys have one guy, but he needs like 5 catches. The Troutman. I think he has like
Here, you can quote me on this right now. Troutman will get 5 passes for sure.
this game.
For sure.
That's
100%.
crazy because he to get the money, right?
No, I'm telling you right now. Troutman is a Sean Payton guy. He is the grinding type of tight end and type of player that you want on your team. I'm telling you right now, take it to the bank, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I don't think I will be. Troutman will be given the opportunity at least to get 6 catches or 7 catches in the game that we have on Sunday, for sure.
And then so we'll go on my side to the Chargers, about guys that have a lot at stake. Keenan Allen. What's on stake for him this weekend is if 6 receptions is $750,000, 9 receiving yards, $250,000, 2 touchdowns, $250,000. Okay, a plus 109 receiving yards, $250K, 4 touchdowns, $250K. He hits. I mean, those are kind of lofty, especially going against the Denver defense. But he hits any of that, it's a kind of a payday for him. So it'd be interesting them trying him out. He's healthy. I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, yeah, he's kind of like your savvy vet that you want to make sure he's healthy. I mean, don't mind you, what's his name? Staley's dumbass. I think it was against the Broncos, played Mike Williams against you guys, and he broke his back in a meaningless game. So this is like, you got to be careful about what you're doing and who you're playing and whatnot. But, this is the game of football and things happen. So,
well, that's an awful lot of money to leave on the table for a player.
yeah.
And I can promise you right now, Keenan Allen has gone to the front office and said,
Oh.
if you don't even attempt to allow me to hit these numbers, like, I'm out.
I mean, and he's already been brought up in talks now with the fan base. I'm not sure about the front office, but as a potential re-sign for next year, or does he retire? There's a few guys because we have, I think, look, the number keeps changing. I think it's 24 free agents. It could be more, it could be less. We do have a lot of cap, don't have that much draft capital. There's a lot of things going in for my team that is pretty interesting as well. But yeah, man, I think they should. I think they should try to feed him. Just get him some early receptions. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm not saying Trey Lance is bad. He's a decent quarterback. He's actually a really decent backup. But
yes,
I think they're gonna try to do him a favor and audition for a team, because I don't see him as the backup next year on the Chargers. I see him with somebody else.
I'm telling you right now, if he tries to throw the ball, he's getting slaughtered.
Oh, but yeah. So what I foresee him doing,
that's lamb to slaughter. Literally lamb to slaughter.
I see that. I see him scrambling a lot. I see him trying to roll out, use his legs, and these quarterbacks, they have a good idea where the line of scrimmage is. They can see on both sides, and then that's where I see him trying to do his stuff. And I could see the Broncos defense getting a 1 or 2 interceptions in this game, couple sacks, maybe fumble recovery. Now we've been pretty good about fumbles. Herbert's been fumbling the ball lately, and that has to do with his hand. But he's recovered his own fumbles, so there's that. The Eagles have the best defense in the NFL and the best roster, man for man. We beat the Rams. Oh wow, okay, West Philly, high on his Eagles still.
How do you do against the Broncos?
Yeah.
That was an L. But look, the Eagles did have a bit of a bounce back stretch in there where they kind of struggled a little bit, and they've actually kind of gone on the upswing now. So, I mean, to their credit, I mean, resilient team has proven that they can kind of overcome that adversity over the season. I kind of agree a little bit actually with like I don't agree with that they have like the best defense and everything in the NFL this year. I think that they did have the best defense last year for sure. Their defensive line was just absolutely incredible. But
who is the best defense? Is it Seattle, Texans, Broncos? Like it's in those three? Mix it up. I don't know.
Seattle's been really good, but the Texans have generally had one of the better defenses. The thing is, it depends on what stats you're looking at.
Yeah.
The Texans have won in certain categories. The Broncos are ahead in actually a reasonable number of those categories.
Yeah.
Like a red zone defense, third down defense, sacks and stuff. The Broncos have they're still number one in the sacks, as a total team. You have the red zone defense for the Broncos, and you have third down defense in the Broncos. And you have a couple other defensive stats where the Broncos are second or third. Then you have the Texans that are number one in some other categories. And then the Seahawks have a couple categories where they're number 2 and number 3, but they're not really number 1 in many of them.
I know my Chargers defense is up there, but not, I don't know if they're top 5. They might be top 10. They're probably more in the top 10 range. Have they been playing late? I mean, other than a few, like the Texans game, they got caught off guard because which I thought was really interesting. I was like, I hadn't seen a team do what the Texans did to the Chargers like in a long time. They went up 14 in less than 6 minutes. They caught them off guard with like 2 deep bombs. A 75-yarder to Higgins and then a 43-yarder to Jalen Noel. But after that, my defense locked down and, I think held CJ Stroud to like 43 yards the rest of the game or something. So they're a good defense, but
that's a Harbaugh Minter thing, man. Like those two guys together are.
Yeah, but the thing is, it should never. This team is not designed to come back from big deficits, especially against a defense like that. Like they essentially shot themselves in the foot last week. That's why I was kind of saying like this was a very winnable game for the Chargers. But first of all, you go down 14 so quick like that. That's a plus and minus. Like you still have a lot of game to go. But
yeah,
you're dealing with, and this is, I think you guys have like, oh, this is going to be tough because the Texans edge guys to me just are like look different than Cooper and Benito. Will Anderson and Texas other name, they just look like they look like giants. They're not as speedy. They're still fast, but I mean they had 5 sacks on Herbert. They got an interception, but it wasn't Herbert's fault.
I'll help you with that. They are the difference between
Will Campbell. There you go.
They're the difference between a guy like Khalil Mack. Yeah, Will Campbell. They're the difference between Khalil Mack and Von Miller. So if you remember Khalil Mack when he was at the height of his game and he was like
we're talking about them in their prime
when he was with the Raiders, like or he was at that like
yeah
in their prime. So Khalil Mack, Von Miller was a special player when he was in that early stage. He was like freaking ridiculous.
He can almost like bend
Khalil
backwards.
Mack. Yeah, it was weird. It was like the weirdest thing ever, right? Like he got so low to the ground that you kind of looked at and said, okay, that's not human. Like you should not be able to do that.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack though had such violent hands and strength and power to get back to the passer that you're just dealing with 2 completely different types of pass rush guys.
Sure.
Both on the edges. And I would argue that Max Crosby is a little bit of a hybrid between the two, but he still is more power than he is speed. And so I think when you look at a guy like Max Crosby and the 2 guys from the Texans, they are certainly closer to, say, a Max Crosby than they are a Khalil Mack, but they're not as quick as a guy like Von Miller or Nick Benito or Jonathan Cooper, right?
They were still equally
it's
like,
style.
they are a formidable duo. Like, holy heck, they are. That Texans defense, like, I guess it's since we hadn't played the Broncos in a long time. It's been since week 3. But I was like, damn, dude, these guys are good. Like, they're really good. And the thing is like, during that game, it's like what could go wrong went wrong. Like, the Chargers were shooting themselves in the foot. Like, Aronde Gadsden had like 3 drops. He did a tip drill near the end zone, tipped it up for the guy to intercept it. And we had Dicker, the kicker, one of the best kickers the last 2 seasons, missed a field goal and an extra point. The score was 20-16. That would have been a tie game. And then, I'm not going to complain about the refs because I don't think you should leave games up to the refs, in my opinion. But, some of these games are getting pretty close. Texans had a lot of penalties, and I don't know if they deserved all that. I think it was like 8 penalties or something. Chargers only had 3. But, man, that last penalty sure made up for the Texans having 8. It was an illegal contact when that ref crew had only called illegal contact, I believe, 6 times this whole season. And they called one to essentially end a game. And the legal contact was the wide receiver initiating contact. And they called it on, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So there was a lot of controversy about that afterwards and whatever. But I don't think games should be left up to the ref's decision. Now, as playoffs
No.
get going, games are going to get a lot tighter, or we would hope or think they do. So this is where we kind of hope that the refs are really in their A game. But and then also our punter was trash. Just a punt of 22 yards and like all these. It was bad, Richie. It was a bad ball. It was a bad game, but it was still winnable. It was still a winnable game despite all the stuff that they were dealing with. But hats off to the Texans, man. Great team. They're going to be I don't know who the Broncos. You guys would play like as the number 1 seed. You would probably play the winner, like the lowest seed winner, I believe.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
So I think, like, say if this goes how I think it might, or I'm hoping, if the Chargers, they lose to the Broncos this week, Broncos get first round, get your rest. Chargers go to New England. I think that we have a good shot to match up with them, especially get some guys healthy. Then if we win that game, I think then we're playing the Broncos again.
Well,
not
you and I
100%.
have had this. You and I have had this chat already.
Yeah, you said it was 2013 this happened?
2013 was the last time this happened, where the Broncos were the number 1 seed with Peyton Manning. That was our year where we were the highest, the most potent offense the NFL has ever seen. Remember with Julius Thomas, Demaryius Thomas, Wes Welker, like Eric Decker. Remember, we just had, our offense was ridiculous. It was stupid. It was absolutely silly. And we had a defense that was mediocre, not great, mediocre. And it turned out that a mediocre defense does not do well in the playoffs, and a high-powered offense that is not run-heavy, because we were primarily pass-heavy, doesn't do particularly well in February. You need a running game, and a good one at that, in order to really do well.
That wasn't the Seahawks Broncos Super Bowl, was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 48, where we got absolutely slaughtered, right? And I was that was one of my earlier forays into being a fanalist and things like that. I've had some of my posts on denverbroncos.com, in the forums there. I kind of broke down the game, and I made some comments about our offensive line that year. We were not holding up enough, and I was concerned that we hadn't gone, we were going too finesse and not enough power. And it turned out that in the worst possible moment, I was proven right. So, you know what I mean? It's
that game got out of hand quickly. That game got out of hand
it was
quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, it's one of those things. And so you really do need your offensive line. You really do need all that kind of stuff to hold up in those types of games. And so, yes, that was the year where we went in and we beat the Chargers. It was 27-13 or 27-17 or something like that. It was a 7 or 9 point game, something like that. And
I'd have to look back to see who was on the offense and the defense for the Chargers.
And by the way, in that game, in that year, the Broncos and the Chargers split. So the first game of the year that year, the Broncos beat the Chargers. The second game of that year, which was later in the season, the Chargers beat the Broncos.
Was that in Qualcomm? Wait, was that in San Diego?
Yes.
That wasn't the Ed Hockley, was it? The Ed Hockley rule?
I can't remember.
I think I went to that game. I went to a Chargers Bronco game in San Diego. Okay.
So it was at the very last game of the season, or the second last game of the season, or whatever the case may be. The Broncos are number 1 seed. The Broncos ended up losing that game like 27-10 or 26-10 or something like that. And then in the playoffs, when the Broncos played the Chargers, the score was inverted, where like we kind of flip flop scores almost as the season went on. Broncos beat the Chargers by the same score or close to it. And then the second game, the Chargers beat the Broncos the same score or close to it. And then in the playoffs, the Broncos beat the Chargers by like approximately the same score, which was like 27-10 or 27-13 or something, something like that. It was like basically approximately a 10-point game when all is said and done.
Also, I mean, something I'm also thinking about seating wise. I mean, it's still possible that the Bills can get that 7th seed as well. I mean, they currently hold it, and everybody's assuming that they're going to beat the Jets. And I mean, the Jets could be worse than the Raiders, in my opinion. Like, I know the Raiders have the number 1 pick, but the Jets are just god awful. But I mean, look, stranger things have happened, and they could be setting them up for an easier path to the playoffs. I don't know. If I was a Patriot, I'd be pretty pissed that you think teams are eyeing you, but it is what it is. Don't take it personally, or do take it personally, I guess. But I'm looking at the Jaguars and Texans. Those are 2 teams I do not want to play right out the gate. They're both very hot. You know what I mean? Assuming the Broncos have that bye week.
So right now the projected is this. Yeah. So the assumption is the Broncos win. So assuming the game go the direction people think is going to happen, it's going to be Chargers play the Patriots, Bills play the Jags, Texans play the Ravens or the Steelers, and then the Broncos have the bye. So if we assume that the Chargers upset the Patriots, we assume that the Jags upset the Bills.
And let's
or not
be
upset
honest,
the Bills, but beat
New
the
England
Bills.
has not been kind to the Chargers in the past, so this is not a gimme by any. No,
gimme. No. So let's just assume that the high seeds do win, right? Because every year there seems to be some flyers, right? So let's say that the Patriots beat the Chargers, and let's say the Bills beat the Jags, and then let's say I just have a funny feeling the Bills are going to beat the Jags, and then let's say that the Texans beat the Ravens or the Steelers, because I do think the Texans are the better team. That would mean the Texans at 5, the Bills at 6, and then the Patriots at 2, which means that we would play the Bills. And then, but you are right, I think. You are right. If the Chargers beat the Patriots, I believe the Broncos then play the Chargers in that next round.
That's what I'm thinking.
And
that'll be interesting.
And that'll be an interesting game, because the division rivals, we kind of know each other, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, that game is going to get all the hype in the world, just because of AFC West, 2013 rematch, Bo Nix versus Herbert, Peyton versus, there's so many storylines in there that it's just yeah, exactly. It's like the storyline for that game literally writes itself, and you can envision the trailer for the game already, right? What's coming.
Yep. It'll be interesting. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. We'll see what happens. I'll be honest with you, Richie. I know you, as a Broncos fan, got to be super stoked with your team right now, rightfully so. With the potential to. Well, you're Richie, that's why. But I would say the majority of Broncos fans, the mass majority, are pretty stoked with them. But me, with this game, this coming up Sunday, I don't have any interest in watching my backups get beat down by the Broncos. I really don't. I mean, I will be I will probably still watch it, but I'm like, man, is there any yard work? I'm checking the weather. I'm like, is the weather going to be above 30 this weekend? Let's see. Maybe I can go outside and do some yard work because it sounds like it's going to be a rough afternoon for my boys in Denver.
So these are my favorite types of games. So when the Broncos were a few years ago, these were my favorite games.
I don't
Where
see
you're
why,
at right
but
now,
uh,
and and I'll explain. I'll tell you exactly why. These are the games where I got to watch a guy like PJ Locke show why he is, you know, a likely starter on many teams in the NFL, but just
yeah,
the Broncos just wanted to do better at the safety position. These are the games where I got to show that Jaquan McMillan is an actual legit, like top notch, like slot corner at the NFL level. These are the games where I got to see guys like Jaleel McLaughlin or even a Frank Crum or other guys show out and be like, wow, they're actually like way better than I thought they were going to be.
yeah,
These are the games where you get to see the depth on your roster and know exactly where you need to focus on in the draft that's coming up to kind of gauge is the depth behind the starters at that position really as bad as I think it might be, or are they maybe better than I thought they were? And that's why I loved watching these sorts of games for my Denver Broncos because it gave me a better understanding of the roster depth that we had on the team, um, or even if we were going to see backups play, if I thought that they played better than the starters,
yeah, that's true. I
right?
mean, there's probably some
And
guys
so,
that will get a shot
yeah,
this week that I'd like to see a little more of. But
Mhm.
on the offensive side, when you're dealing with so much attrition on the offensive line and such poor play, really puts a hamper on things offensively. Now, defense, it should still be pretty decent for the Chargers on defense.
yeah,
Like I said, right now I don't know the guys who won't be playing. It's probably safe to say that probably Mac, Derwin, they're probably not playing. Now the other guys, I'm not 100%. So defense is still probably going to try to get after you guys, but offensively, I don't see it happening. Anyways,
so let's give our quick score predictions, and then
okay.
we will end it there. Do you want me to go first? You want you to
Yeah,
go
go
first?
first because I go first because I'm just I don't want to give something super outrageous. I didn't even write anything down.
I have this as a 31-point game for my Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that this is going to be a closer game than you think it's going to be, simply because division rivals and Harbaugh is not going to want to be completely blown out. Now, I also think that Peyton is going to hold back some starters if the game gets ahead by, say, 2 scores, or maybe or even 3 scores, like maybe like 2 scores and a field goal. I could see Sean Payton pull some of his starters, just kind of play the game a little bit more conservatively. So I could see this being about a 31-point game for my Denver Broncos, and I believe that you're going to end up seeing maybe a touchdown near the end of the game was like a garbage time style touchdown, potentially with a Trey Lance or whatever. Just because the Broncos have kind of maybe sat a couple of their starters and it kind of comes
Sure.
back to bite them. But ultimately, I see this being a 19-31 game for the Broncos.
That's close. What I just wrote down is pretty close to what you said. I've got this.
Yeah.
I've got this. 28 Broncos, 13 Chargers.
Yeah.
I think like I said, I think there's a touchdown in there, and I think there's 2 field goals in there. I think there's like 2 like long attempts at a field goal, especially being up in Mile High, and Dicker probably trying to redeem himself from last week. And then, yeah, I could see you guys probably pulling guys in the fourth quarter and such like that. Maybe that's where the touchdown comes from. Who knows? But
Yeah, that's my thought process there as well. We also have a fair number of defensive injuries, like Corene Reed. He's back to finally being a full participant. We have Greenlaw, who's going to be out for this foreseeable future with yet another injury, because why not? It's Dre Greenlaw.
dude, it's like clockwork with some players, man.
Yeah, and so Corene Reed, you heard me talk about him in the preseason. Jordan Turner, another guy you heard me talk about in the preseason. And guess what? They've been starters. Also, guess what? They've looked really good. So it's like,
So
it's like, you know, at some point, I think you just need to be honest and say, like, even if Dre Greenlaw is like a really good player, and he is, by the way, for the record,
yeah,
if you can't stay on the field, then you're really not helping your team. And that's not a knock on you as like your skill level. You don't have the health to back it up. It is what it is.
I'm just looking at some of these injuries, like who are potentials. Like St. Juice will be back. Okay, it's gonna be pretty sad. So it's probably gonna be, if I had to guess, running back wise, it's probably gonna be Vidal and Patterson going. It's probably just gonna be those two going against you guys. Two like smaller style backs.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Oh man.
Yeah.
Anyways, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting, but I'm not looking forward to it. Now, if I look at it from your way, looking at young
basically
guys,
for the most part.
yeah, yeah. AFC West. Did you see the AFC
I believe
West
we're going to
camp?
see the bench.
Sorry, what I think we're having
What do you
audio.
mean?
But did you, Peyton? I haven't even seen him on X. Did I know the Broncos won the West, and Peyton was like, I didn't even see him. I think he's like, from what I heard, they're ugly. I haven't even seen what they look like. Did you see him?
Peyton and the Broncos are refusing. They're refusing to even release them to the players, have them worn in public. Sean Payton is put his stock 100% in the first round bye and first seed of the West.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole thing is, you're not champions of anything until you get the first round bye.
Okay. Because I was like, I hadn't seen like the hats or t-shirts or anything.
You can go on the Broncos website. They have them posted there. But Sean Payton has intentionally withheld the gear, if you will, from the team, because he's basically treating it as it means nothing unless you get the number one. Like it makes nothing. Like you have failed unless you're a first, like you're a first round bye.
I can see that. I can see it.
Yep. And you got to find motivation for your players somewhere, and I think that's what Sean Payton has done here. But anyways, that's where we're at for today, guys. It's obviously some interesting games, at least. Obviously, the Chiefs have missed the playoffs. The Raiders have missed the playoffs. That kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought at least one of them would probably have made it when we started the year. If we're going to be honest, like it is what it is.
I think we had 3. I mean, we are flirting with maybe 4 getting in, but
yeah, you can't get there when you have injuries and some other things that take place. And frankly, I think we all expected the Chiefs to do a little bit better than they did. And I'm going to be perfectly blunt. I did not foresee this happening to the Raiders. Like I thought the Raiders were going to be a much better team this year than they were.
I thought they were going to be like a 6-7 win team. I did not see this 2 win. But I also didn't see Geno being as bad as he has. And then I guess you can blame that on the O-line and OC, that whole debacle. So there's a lot of stuff that was involved.
Yeah. So we got 2 teams that are kind of just playing for more pride at this point, and the Raiders wanting to try to guarantee their first round draft pick or number 1 draft pick in the NFL draft in 2025/2026. And then we got the Broncos and Chargers. The Broncos are basically trying to solidify their number one seed in the AFC West, which is a big deal for my Denver Broncos. We still have a few injuries that we are trying to recover from. One that is notable, by the way, J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
That first round bye will allow us to likely get him back for that first go round back in the playoffs. And
I heard he's not coming back. Now you're thinking he might come back, or he is?
All indications are within Broncos country that he is on track to come back for that first game back after the first round bye. So
that would be a huge boost for you guys. Huge boost.
Yeah. And obviously the hope is that that's the case. And then there's some other kind of interesting pieces. I will again go on record saying that the Broncos desperately need a truly big back, like a legit big back, like as in like Hampton size running back. Like we need a guy who's like 6'1", 240, kind of.
Are you saying for the playoffs or for next season?
No, I just mean in general. Like when you look at where we're at right now, you need a guy that can have some durability with a combination. I mean,
Najee Harris is probably going to be a free agent next year.
Yeah, I don't like Cyclopses.
Well, and then also, what was it? Achilles? Yeah, it's Achilles.
Yeah.
Achilles.
So I mean, soft tissue injuries and stuff like that aside, he's typically been very healthy. But once you start getting these soft tissue things, they often stack up for guys that are in high contact things. I like the Broncos to look at some of the guys in the draft and maybe take a flyer on like a UDFA or two or something like that and see what you can get. But anyways, looking ahead to next week's game, we both gave our score predictions. Broncos are atop the West. For those of you who predicted it, I was not one of them. I did not think the Broncos were going to be atop the West. I actually think I predicted the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I thought my boys had it too, man. But
and honestly, it's going to be a really interesting lead into the playoffs. If you have any questions for down below, predictions for the playoffs after the first round, we will be back, obviously, at our normal Wednesday time slot next week. We'll get right into the outcome of these games. I'll look ahead to the Chargers playoffs game, as well as some additional chat with the playoffs. And obviously, the Raiders at that point will be full-on draft mode. So we'll start getting into a little bit of that kind of stuff as well. In addition to, by next week, DZ will have probably some information in terms of coaches that have been let go and whatnot.
That's true.
Which will be some additional content for those folks that are around with us next week on Wednesday. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, until next week, where the West Side's the best side, thank you very much for joining us on the Wild Wild West. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.